Tomate trifft, ein ganz besonderes Special with Mr. Jerry Wyzard Seay.
Yes.
Hello, nice to meet you. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great.
You on tour with Carl Carlton right now?
Yes, I've actually been in Europe since the 7th of February.
Yeah.
I was here. I started with Mothers Finest, and Mothers Finest is doing 2 parts of the tour. We did the first part in February, then we come back and finish up in April, and then Carl was doing his tour in March.
Okay.
So I decided to stay here for the whole time. So I've been here since the 7th of February, and I will stay until April.
In Gotha am 19. April, das einzige Konzert in Ostdeutschland.
I want to talk about the East German gig. We played a gig in East Germany when the wall was still up. With Status Quo.
Really?
And it was like right over the East Berlin side.
Yeah.
And it was so weird. When we went to the hotel room still had surveillance cameras.
Okay.
In the room. When I went in my room, I saw the fucking camera. And I went, knocked on the drummer's door. I said, "You got a camera here?" And he said, "Yeah, I got a fucking camera." And everybody had, we all had cameras in our room. But the gig was great. People came out and they fucking loved it. And it was like a big event. But that was probably maybe a year before the wall came down.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, I thought that was amazing when I look back on it.
So how did you start playing bass? What was the reason?
I really had no choice. My father is a piano player, guitar player, bass player. My mother's the piano player, singer, guitar player, and I have 5 brothers, all play music, and 6 sisters that all sing and play. And I've been writing about this. I'm writing a biography, and it's amazing. When I was in my mom's tummy, when I was growing, every day she was singing and playing. So I was hearing it before I was in the world.
Great.
And so when I came out, music was everywhere.
Yeah.
There were instruments all over the house, And I remember when I was 2 years old, I used to always scrub walk by the instrument and pull the strings, And then when we used to play with the family, the bass was the last instrument always sitting around. And the guitar, I know, the guitars were going first, and then the piano was gone, and the bass was sitting there. And I said, "Okay, give me
the bass."
Yeah, and I started playing. And God, my story is very rich. My older brothers were my first heroes.
Yeah. And
I have my brother Edward. He plays guitar, but when he plays bass, he plays the bass like a guitar, and he bends the strings, And so the first time I heard a bass, he was playing it like a guitar solo.
Yeah.
And so, and he would play chorus.
Yeah.
When I was like, that's what I first started hearing, because he was, he would play bass and he would grab the guitar. He first played guitar and grab the bass and continue soloing on the bass. And I said, "Whoa, that's cool." So he was one of my heroes. And my older brother, Frank, he was like amazing. He knew every song ever written. I ended up playing everything. So yeah, the bass was just cool to me. And as I grew up, I started hearing all the bass lines, the James Brown stuff and Ray Charles and some of the jazz stuff, and then I eventually started hearing one of the first rock songs that really got me was the Animals, "We Gotta Get Out of This Place." And then, every day in the week, baby, it was, "We gotta get out of this place." You remember the song, baby?
Yeah.
And what was so weird about it is Chas Chandler was the bass player.
Okay.
And he was the guy he brought Jimi Hendrix from America to England.
Really?
And yeah, and that turned into a whole world of stories with that weird manager, Mike Jeffries. I love that bass line. I started getting into the Who. Loved John Entwistle, but I basically love the sound of the Who. Pete Townshend's I'm a big fan of his. Matter of fact, Mothers Finest played a Who tour in 1976, and Keith Moon was still alive. This was the last tour he did. And we played from Phoenix, Arizona, and around the West Coast, and into Canada, and we ended up in Toronto. Got to see these guys every night. We partied, and Pete Townshend told us stories about London in the early days.
Tell us some secrets about him.
God. He's great. He was the most approachable guy in the band. Like It Whistle was very quiet. Moon was everywhere. He was like a little gnat. And Daltrey was he was cool. He was after Joyce, I think. He was always chasing after Joyce, the lead singer. And when we first played the Who tour, we played first and we thought we were sounding great, you know, and we hadn't seen them yet.
Yeah.
And then we played our set and it was great, got a good response.
Great.
But then they came on and said, what the f-? They were like gods.
Yeah.
I mean, the sound was amazing and the control of the night. So that was like a thing. And then we went on to do like a lot of really cool tours, like with, I mean, my influences go from, you know, that's really hard. I really listen to a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm just attracted to, well, lately I like songs. Okay. I don't really like bass as much as, if the song is there as a piece of music, that catches me.
No matter
and then
what
I get in,
music.
and then I get in and I figure out what's doing what.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah, but the songwriting and the song construction.
Do you remember your first bass you ever had?
Yes. It was a Gibson Thunderbird.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. And if I had that bass now, it would be worth $1 million because it was like, you know, one of the first ones that were made.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this was in the 50s, in 56,
Great.
57 or something like that. And we had that one, and we had one of the first Stratocasters in the house, I remember.
Great.
Yeah, when Fender first came out, and but I had the Thunderbird bass first, and I played on that, and then I got a precision bass.
Okay.
That was the house bass, but my older brother, he was drafted into Vietnam. And then when he went to the service, he went to Saigon for like a, you know, like when the soldiers go on vacation. And he found a precision bass in a pawn shop. And he sent it back to me in America.
Great.
Yeah, and that's the bass that I have now. I was 14 years old when I got that bass from him.
And you still got it now?
The purple bass that I have with the white pickguard is the same bass
Great.
from Vietnam.
Cool.
And for some reason, it's been with me all these years. It's been through fires, it's been dropped, it's been kicked, it's never been stolen from me. It's been with me ever since, and it's been like 40 years.
There's a relationship between you and the bass?
Oh man, like you won't believe. It feels like my arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I put it on, it's like, you know, and it's like, you know, it's only thing special about it is I know it completely.
Yeah.
And the weight is perfect. It probably weighs, I love the weight of this bass. And my bass is about the same weight. It's very light, you know, and but it bites when I want it to bite, and it sings when I want it to sing, and I can pound on it, or I can be finesseful.
The sound you want to have, you create by your hands.
By my hands, like I grew up in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and you know Jaco Pastorius.
Yeah.
I met Jaco when he was like 16 years old. I'm a year younger. I was 15, he was 16, and we used to go see the bass players in South Florida. And with amazing bass players in South Florida, like there was this Cuban guy named Carlos Vega.
Okay.
And Carlos used to dress up in women's clothes all the time. But he was the most amazing bass player. And he had the coolest mustache you would ever see.
Okay.
But he played with that muted sound. And but that sound that Jaco picked up. Jaco loved the sound. I love some of the things by him. But Carlos Vega, Joe McIver, Napoleon, those three guys were like over the top. So we grew up watching these guys. And so I was fortunate. I got to see great bass players. I got to see Jaco as he went on to be with Weather Report. And you know, matter of fact, when I was I was playing in a band called Tommy Strand and the Upper Hand when I met Mothers Finest.
Okay.
And I left that band to join Joyce, Glenn, and Mo. And Jaco replaced me in that band.
Ah, great.
Yeah, that's how. And we used to be really. I used to see him. You know, he would always say, dude, I mean, you know, because when I see him in New York or see him in LA and stuff, after the years went by, he had some problems as life went on, but he loved seeing people that were from home, you know. And, but yeah, he was a great guy.
Would you please tell us something about your musical career, how it started from when you first started playing bass and in a band till now?
The first band I played, I was like 12 years old.
Yeah.
When I played with my brother Frank, who's my oldest brother. He used to play the gigs on Miami Beach at the poolside, like at the big hotels, at the Fountain Blue and the Eden Rock and stuff. And he heard me playing one day, and he said, "Whoa!" He said, "You're getting, you know," he said, "You're getting pretty good." So he said, "You can come and play some of the gigs," because he used to use my other brother, but he would be gone sometime.
Okay.
So the first gigs I played was like Miami Beach poolside gigs.
Okay.
When I was like 12.
Oh, really?
But what was beautiful about that is I had to play every type of song. Like, you know, we would practice all the rock and roll, but people would come up and request like Hava Nagila,
Okay.
or like Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong, or something by the Ink Spots, or something by, you know, either Elvis Presley or either. So we had to play every different kind of music.
Yeah.
So I got started playing in front of people, playing a big variety of music.
Yeah.
And that was cool because I learned more than about bass. I learned about how songs work.
Yeah.
And I've always had a really good ear, I think, from my mother and my father. Once I heard something, I could tell where it was going by the time, you know, like a minute into it. And to this day, I still like that. My ear is really good. I hear when something's out of tune.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of drives me crazy sometimes, but I like to stay with great musicians, so I don't have to worry about that.
How did it went on after this band?
After I played with my brother in clubs. We started playing nightclubs and stuff. And then he pissed me off, and I left, and I went with a band called Freddie. I played all the local Miami, Fort Lauderdale scene.
Yeah.
And then I got the gig with Tommy Strand in the Upper Hand. That was the biggest gig in Florida. Like, it was at the Hump Room, an amazing venue. And that's when I met Joyce, Glenn, and Mo. And I was just turning 17. And once I figured out the kind of music we would be playing, I wanted to do that, because with Tommy Strand I was playing like Blood, Sweat and Tears, jazz, rock stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And I wanted to play like Hendrix and Sly and you know, some hard stuff.
Yeah.
And so I went there, but I played music from day one. I've never had another job, which is a blessing. I've only ever played music. And I've been fortunate enough to always make enough money to stay there and do it.
Cool.
And yeah, and I'm still driven by it. I mean, and I'm sure it comes from my mother. She was a music freak. My mother, up until her last day, she would wake up and sing it every morning and go bang on the piano. And I'm the same way. I love music, and and there's nothing else that I need except that.
Great.
And maybe a couple of things.
What kind of strings do you play?
I've been using GHS boomers for 20 years. I love GHS. I have a deal with the company.
Oh, great.
And I know Dave Cowan, those guys, man, they're great. Yeah, I love LaFay. That company, they turned me on to GHS, but I have some beautiful LaFay basses.
Okay.
And they turned me onto those strings, and I've been using them ever since. I used to use Roto Sound, but that was years and years ago.
Which gauge?
Like 45 to 105.
Okay.
And if I'm using a 5-string, I use like a 125.
What kind of effects do you play, or some effects on the stage?
I love effects, especially distortion.
Okay.
When I saw Sly and the Family Stone live, back early Sly and the Family Stone, when Larry Graham was in the band, and they were playing this, and he had these, you know, 360 acoustic 360 amplifiers. He had 3 of those things, and he was playing something, and he stepped on the pedal, and it was like, I said, that just drove me fucking crazy.
Yeah.
The next day I went out and bought every fuzz tone I could find, and because that was the first time I heard an effective bass player use distortion.
Okay.
With the power. It was like a truck was coming into the joint, you know.
So you use it on stage?
I use it. I have to have distortion. That's the one thing I must have. I like the whammy pedals, the Digitech thing, where you can get all the different sounds. I love chorus. I love. I don't use chorus or flange as much. Maybe in the studio if I create a sound. But I do love special effects.
Cool.
And I love experimenting with different pedals to create new sounds.
What amps do you play live on stage?
I'm back to Ampeg, SVT, which is what I've been playing most of my life. It was hard to get an endorsement, but I finally got my endorsement back, which is great.
Great.
Because when I'm coming to Europe, you know, I would have to pay tons of money. I was using Van der Clay, which I really like, the Dutch company, and I was using the Thomas Ike from He's in the Frankfurt area, and those companies are really good. And but it's not Ampeg. The saturation. It's like that's the best thing about the American sound and amps. When I play an Ampeg, it makes me blend in with the band better.
Yeah.
The other amps make the bass sound better, and you can hear the bass, but it's not really as band friendly. Ampeg makes the band sound good because it gets under and it gets into a place where there's no other frequencies but that one.
Okay.
Because I play with Pascal Kravitz now, he uses a lot of low end on his keyboards, but you still can hear the bass here, and then it's there, the analog tube sound.
Cool. Do you play with a certain kind of cable, a special cable you got, or do you play wireless?
No, I play wireless. It depends on the act. When I was working with Mindy Abear in America, I had to use wireless systems, and I have fun doing it. But I use wires most of the time.
Okay.
I just make sure I got a great cable.
Yeah.
I don't really know the brands as much, but it's something that I've been keeping in my base with my case, and it works forever.
Cool.
And but wireless I do like. It's the freedom. But I also like a cable.
Yeah, okay.
I like to kick it when you straighten it out once it gets all curled up.
Have you ever played with a pick or just?
Yeah, I play with picks.
You play with picks on stage?
Yeah. Well, not on stage, but as much. But when I record, and if I needed to use it on stage, I will pull one out. Yeah.
Got a special kind of picks you use?
Medium, turtle shell type medium.
Great. Cool.
I love the sound. One of my best bass player influences is Anthony Jackson.
Okay.
He's an American guy. He's brilliant. God, he's fucking amazing. But his upstroke on the pleca is amazing.
Okay.
And he just gets the bite out of it, which is different from most players.
Okay.
Yeah.
Under pressure.
No, that's not under pressure. That's Ice Baby. I know he went to court about that song, and he said, "No, it's different. Theirs is doom 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 do the doom doom, but mine is doom 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 do the doom doom." He said, "Okay," and he had to pay lots of money.
Say something to the young people who start to play bass.
Yeah, two youngsters just starting to play bass. Don't be afraid to get outside of the box. Play what you feel and what you hear and trust it. You may have to correct some things, but I think that's what makes the bass grow as an instrument. Like if you have a different approach than just laying down the low end. You can do so much with the bass now. Bass has grown amazingly. Remember that you are the feel of the band. The bass players guitar players like to be seen and heard. Bass players like to be felt and remembered. The girls wake up the next day saying, "Oh, what is that?" And it's the bass line still with them.
Great, man. Thank you very much for the interview.